Welcome to the end of day review for Thursday, the 8th of February 2024. Starting off with the economic calendar, there was one red folder news event for the New York session. This was positive for the USD as actual was less than forecast, and as a result, in the New York session, we could anticipate that GBPUSD will sell off. Having said all of that, let's move on to the 4-hour charts and unpack what had happened, as yesterday was quite a jam-packed day and a lot changed over the course of the day. So in terms of the London session, essentially coming into the day, we were roughly in and around this area here, anticipating that price will move forward towards these buy to sell wicks or this window of imbalance in order for us to generate a pro-trend primary leg from which we could short from. Our bias it did enable us to trade both directions provided that we had adequate backing and appropriate for each legs being built. So at the time of coming into the Frankfurt session, we had this 4H primary pullback phase leg that was validated because yesterday, or rather Wednesday, we actually body broke this 4H OB, validating the leg, and thus we had reason to trade long. However, in terms of shorting, there wasn't any unmitigated OBs to the left or window of imbalances or 4H pro-trend OBs to enable us to validate a 4H, to enable us to play reactions from 4H OBs on the 15 and 5 minute. As a result of that, we were purely focused on longs. And however, later in the day at around 12 p.m., which is quite late in the London session, we actually had this body break, breaking this pullback phase OB, which served as a change of character for order flow on the 4H, thus validating the 4H pro-trend primary leg. As a result of that, towards the New York session, we had reasons to both long and short. However, the New York red folder news event swayed our decision bias in one direction, being purely to short for the remainder of the session. However, it wasn't really possible to get into any trades at that time as it was quite late, although there was one opportunity, but I wasn't too happy taking it. So let's move on to the 5 minute, where we can unpack this in further detail. Essentially what had happened is we were roughly in and around this area, and we hadn't yet had the 4H candle body break of this pullback jock, and thus there was only reason to trade long. However, in the current day, we didn't actually extend the pullback phase primary leg, and thus we were reliant on the previous day high and low to anchor our fib and find a POI that aligns. On the 15 and 5 minute, there was this 15 minute chain POI that was well situated within the fib. As you can see, it's well below the 38% level. So I set an order right here, which was triggered in the London low. That was perfectly fine, as the idea was for a London low of the day to be created, and that pretty much got triggered. It did give a reaction, but ultimately failed, and this level proved to be a CPB. And then as we moved into the New York session, what we can see is that we had this 4H validation of the 4H pro-trend primary leg at 4 p.m. which was roughly this part right here, which then enabled us to consider shorts. However, at this point, price had moved quite significantly to the downside, approximately 67% of the daily range, and at the same time, from a technical analysis perspective, there's reasons to both long and short, so we couldn't directly trade from this pro-trend OB. Well, we could based on this chain. However, you can see the chain and the fib don't necessarily align, and the next best point of option was this POI. However, by the time price got into this pro-trend primary leg POI, it had already validated a secondary pullback phase OB because of the failure of this level right here. At that point, shorts were now invalid, but remember, we can only short in the New York session because of the US news that was positive for the USD, only supporting shorts. In which case, on the 5 minute, you can see after reacting to this 5 minute pro-trend primary OB, we then had a new chalk and validated a secondary pro-trend OB, which I guess I should mark out right like this. So this is secondary pro-trend leg. And this entry would have been valid. As you can see, the POI aligns with the 50% level of the fib with our stop loss above the London high of the day, because it was validated in New York and it wasn't expected that in the current day we'd actually break that. However, as you can see, what then subsequently happened is we continued to move. While we did get a decent reaction, we didn't actually reach our break-even point right here, right there. So this trade would have been open, and since it's a Thursday and unlikely um, that there's lots of confirmation that the week will actually close bearish, I would have closed this trade for about a minus 0.5 loss. However, like I said, in my live trading, I didn't actually take this trade as it was quite late in the day, and we have already moved 67% of the daily range, quite close to the 70% level, and it being late in the day, so the likelihood of price actually um, continuing to move to the downside was probably not highly probable. As a result of that, I took one loss ending the day, and that's pretty much the end of day review. Moving on to Friday, we'll have reasons essentially to trade both directions, and we'll just navigate the higher time frame narrative using the mid time frames and understanding the legs that have been built there on.